Radio Live, hour number 3, full crew here. The big dog in the house, Shirley Rhodes, Alex Harper, intern Zach. We got Sean and we got Coach Hud, Greg Hudson, joining us at the big table. Coach Hud, good to see you again, man.
Hi, good to be back.
You did mention some sad news in the sports world. Mike Martin, who a lot of folks know from his amazing time at Florida State as the baseball coach there. And you knew Coach Martin, had a relationship with him, right?
Yes, good relationship. And we actually he lived right around the corner from me for those 3 years. He was a great coach. There's not a bad word that ever been said about him, in my opinion. His family was wonderful. He's touched a lot of lives, and it's just sad that, dementia took him away too soon. And we were talking, or I had left him a message for a call one day to go ask him a couple things, and I missed his call back. And all he said to me when he left his message, he said, "Huddy, can you still hit a fungo?" Then he hangs up.
So you were a football coach there, but you said you would hang out in the dugout, and that's cool.
It was awesome.
41 straight postseason appearances under Martin, Florida State. I mean, that is insane.
Yeah, they were good.
And after he played at Florida State, he played for 3 different Mets: the Greenville Mets in South Carolina, Winter Haven Mets, and then Mankato Mets, and then finished his playing career in Rocky Mount, North Carolina for the Rocky Mount Leafs.
Well, how about that? Carolina Class A League, Rocky Mount Leafs. I see on the bio as well, Godby High School.
Godby High School.
And every time we hear that, Chandler, we think of Coach Rick Smith. Telling some stories.
When Rick Smith was on quite a bit with us at Pirate Radio, he always brought up about coaching with Mike Martin at Godby High School.
Yeah. And Rick Smith said he was a ball player.
Yeah.
Baseball player.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
So, do it all. We need to get Coach Smith on. By the way, I haven't told you this yet.
Let it be a surprise.
You won the lottery.
No, I would not tell you if I did.
What are you doing here?
Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll hear from a guy that you were on a staff with at ECU.
Oh.
Whose name may have come up last week when we were talking. Let's see if you remember that in the old brain there, Coach Hud.
This thing's been dented. It's not just wrinkled, it's dense.
How about those cheating Boilermakers? Let's start there. 48 free throws, Coach? I mean, what do they need? It's ridiculous.
Why didn't they get 50?
Last night, Purdue went to the line 46 times, made 29 of them, 6 of 8.
Well, there's the problem.
Yeah, well, 6 of 8 from the line for Northwestern. Did you see Chris Collins get thrown out?
No,
it was awesome.
But I did see a foul called on a guy defending the giant,
the big boy.
The big boy. And he basically put his arms straight up in the air, gave ground, and they still called a foul when the guy jumped into him.
What you gonna do at that point?
I don't know.
Not much you can do. Chris Collins, the game was pretty much over, but Collins wanted to get his money's worth. So it's a pretty funny scene. I got to show it to you. In fact, I'll do it right now so I can describe to the audience what happened, because it was a very convoluted ejection from the game. A lot of stuff went on. So we're late in the game here, Coach.
See it?
We're gonna get Collins getting teed. All right, and now Collins is going to go after the ref. There's another tee. He's gone. By the way, the game's over.
It's at Purdue. It's loud in there.
All right, the player is holding back Collins. He says, I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, he's good. But wait, he's going back after the ref. Now an assistant grabs him. Now here we go. He's going to say, hey, Matt, good game, Matt. He's going to awkwardly tap these guys on their arms, and he's going to give Edie a big bro hug, and then
love you, man.
He's going to pump up the Purdue crowd. I mean,
that's his.
What is wrong with that dude?
An Emmy-nominated performance by Chris Collins.
Well,
once a Dookie, always a Dookie, I say.
That means he's good.
But then again, 46 fouls. He probably had a gripe. I didn't watch the game.
46 free throws.
Free throws. I'm sorry. Yeah,
but they only made 28 of them.
Yeah, 20. Yeah. Well, Edie, the big boy, missed a bunch of those. I guess they got a hack-a-shack thing going over there in West Lafayette. So
I'm sure they do.
Edie was 11 of 14 from the field and 8 of 17 from the line. So you get him within 2 feet, he's pretty deadly, Coach.
Jeez.
Pirates losing last night. That was ugly to watch. Did you go to that game?
No.
Yeah, good call by
No,
you.
I had an unexpected visitor. I didn't know would be in town, and a good friend of mine from Moeller in Cincinnati's coming through. As a matter of fact, he's going to show up here and hang out in the lobby. Is he there yet?
He's not there yet.
Okay.
Unless he's invisible.
No.
Unless your friend's John
He's on
Cena.
his way.
Coach
No.
Hood, do we need to have a conversation? I think you have an imaginary friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Main thing, Teo. I started to stop. It just,
that. Did you watch the documentary on Netflix?
yeah.
Boy, that made, like, at the time,
Sad.
I was probably immature guy, believe it or not, making jokes about Teo and everything.
Yeah, sad.
But man, it was like super sad, and you kind of see how he got dragged into all that mess. That was terrible. Shirley, we forgot something. We forgot to welcome Coach Hood into the show. Are you prepared to do that, or did you forget? Man,
Taylor Swift.
we talked about it yesterday. Remember I said, let's get some Coach Hood walk-up music?
Barry Manilow?
Oh, you played it as bumper music?
Yeah.
You played Kickstart My Heart?
Ooh.
Well, I missed it. Dang. Okay, that's on me. My apologies.
Good one.
Coach Greg Hudson.
Can you tell I've never been on a motorcycle, Coach, doing this?
I don't know what you're doing.
I'm doing wrist exercises.
Wax on, wax off.
Daniel San.
Paint fence.
Tyler said, you think Coach Hood is a System of a Down fan? I would say probably not.
A who?
Yeah. They're more of they were like a 2000s rock band.
A who fan?
System of a Down.
No.
Yeah. No, you
They're
are
probably
a
good.
You are a Who fan, I would imagine. The Who.
God, since grade school.
Great rock band. Okay, Shirley, I apologize. I did not hear it in the bumper music.
You just asked me to have the song ready.
I
I didn't
did.
realize that,
You know-
you were going to use it as walk up. Otherwise, I would have put it somewhere else.
And I told Shirley that over 24 hours ago, and you had it ready to go.
I did.
I tell you who wouldn't have had it ready. Wes.
West. He'd be on the phone with marriage counseling.
It was in the men's section.
Have you seen that video with Bailey, Meador, Billy Weaver, and Troy?
No.
And okay, well, I'll send you the link. Wes, yada yada yada. Wes is wearing a girl shirt, and he talks about why and how he is wearing a girl shirt that day.
It was in the men's
In
section.
fact, Shirley, before HUD leaves, we'll do it later in the show. We'll play that segment because
I want to get
it's worth it.
I want to get the Dow and the money report, but I want it to be on my phone voice.
Shirley would not let him do it last Friday.
Hey, Coach Hood, it's Wes. I got your stock market update.
The NASDAQ.
All right, we got to take a break
Ends in a K.
because when we return, a guy that HUD worked with here at East Carolina. You may remember last week we showed you a picture of you screaming, and there was a blurry grad student in the background, and you said, "Oh, that's Brett Hickman."
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little ECU football with Coach Hick and Coach HUD.
Outstanding.
He said he had a couple of stories. He gave the old line, probably can't tell a lot of them, but maybe he can tell us one or two.
Depends on what the rating is of the show.
For the next hour, we're going rated MA. Sorry, kids. More to go, Pirate Radio Live. Back with you after this.
Will be 2 weeks away.
Yeah, that's probably right, because when I played baseball, we played in February, but the first 30 games at Notre Dame were on the road.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, we play ECU.
It was warm.
Yeah, ECU plays a lot of like St. John's and northern teams early in the year here while they're trying to thaw out.
We went to Seattle. No, we went to Seattle and played in a tournament. Duke was in it. Played Duke, Washington, and somebody else. A 4-team tournament up in the old Silver Dome in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
Then we got on a plane in Seattle and flew to Hawaii and played in a 4-day stay there. That was our spring break. But then our weekends were Texas, LSU, Wichita State, and Miami.
By the time you got to South Bend, it was like 45 degrees again instead of...
Barely.
There you go. Greg Hudson joining us. So last week, we randomly came across a Coach Hud picture where he's screaming. I believe it was a delightful scream.
It was
a happy
It
scream.
looked like he was fired up.
Yeah.
It was a something, yeah. And the first word
We'll bleep.
Yeah.
A bleep, yeah.
was a fuffa.
Also in that photo, Coach Hud recognized the young Brett Hickman. And I said, hey, I know Brett. And you said some good words about Coach Hickman. And I sent him a text. He said, hey, let me jump on with you fellas and talk a little Hud and ECU. So Brett Hickman, once again, joining us here on Pirate Radio Live. Coach Hickman, how you doing, man?
Clip, good to hear from you, Huddy. What's up, man?
Hey, Coach Hickman, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. That's a younger Brett Hickman. It's also a lighter Brett Hickman in that picture, if it's the one I'm thinking of.
That's right. We got to get you on the health plan.
Brett, let us know what you're up to today. Where are you coaching and living these days?
Yeah, so right now I'm the defensive coordinator at Anderson University down in Anderson, South Carolina, kind of in Clemson Tiger Country, about 20 miles from there. Went back, had been in college football for 10 years after I left East Carolina, and then went back home to West Brunswick High School where I was the head coach for 4, and kind of dove back in, wanted to kind of help Bobby Lamb, who's a Hall of Fame head coach down here at Anderson. He used to be the head coach at Furman and Mercer. He's in the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. I've known him for a long time, so he offered me a chance to come start the program with him down here. So we're playing football in 2024 for the first time ever, and it's been really neat to be on the ground floor. A lot of recruiting, and really neat to kind of get to build a defense from scratch and not have to worry about existing terminology or anything like that. So it's been a great place for me and a great place for my family so far.
That's awesome, man. I did see that on Facebook. I did see you were down there, and congratulations. He will do great down there because he'll be great with the players. He'll really be great with the kids, and they'll gravitate to him. He's got an infectious personality. He's positive. He's always optimistic, but he's really smart. Brett's smart. He understands football, and he studies football, and he cares. He cares about his players, and I'm anxious to watch him out there because then I can go, well, that was a nice call, Brett.
It's interesting, Hud. If Nick Johnson or somebody who played on those teams came out to our practice, after we flex or do whatever at the beginning of practice, the drill starts every day with get right drill.
Absolutely, that can cure the common cold.
Started every day at practice at East Carolina, and I kind of learned from Hud so many things, from a football standpoint, obviously, but in terms of building a culture defensively, and even when I was a head coach at West Brunswick High School, we did it with the whole team. But the number one fundamental of defense is the effort and the intensity of which you play with. So we start that every day, and then in my opinion, and I think Hud would probably agree with this, I think the greatest teacher of zone coverage who's ever existed was Rick Smith.
Absolutely.
We're still playing zone auto, and you'd look on a call sheet and you'd be like, we might call it this, but that's bench flame 33. So there's a lot from 2007, 2008, 2009 that is still kind of hung on today. Is as much as people think the game has changed, it really hasn't.
No, and you're running the basic package that got amazing. I just laughed at the stories when they talked about the Vikings defense this year in the NFL. And how the guy that's the coordinator of the Vikings had been working at Pittsburgh, and he was around Narduzzi with what they were running with all their quarter press stuff, and how it had confused everybody in the NFL, and that's why they were doing so well till the last 4 games when they exposed a little bit. But it was the zone concept and the matching concept and the press and really playing 9-man football. So Brett's going to do a good job down there. Brett's going to keep moving up in this industry if he wants to, because I also know Brett's a great husband and a great father, and I hope he's still taking great pride in that, as I emphasized to him.
Yeah, you did. I will say this about HUD. If there's one thing I can say My dad was a great influence on my life. He's kind of a legendary high school coach there in Eastern North Carolina, and he really showed me how to combine football and family. But when I went to East Carolina and I got involved in the football program, I just thought I would be a high school coach because I just didn't know if you could balance what I wanted to be as a person. And, the way Coach Hud talked about his children, and when they came around, and at that age, I guess Garrett might have been in middle school. He was your oldest. And Jack was probably about second or third grade, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Just the kind of love and affection you had for your children and the balance that you had showed me something that and I became a better coach. And you told me this would happen when I had my first child, because you see them as you see every person as somebody else's child. And that might have been the greatest lesson that I learned from Coach Hud out of anything.
Well, thanks, Brett.
Yeah, that's a great message there. Let me ask you, Coach. So we had the whole Naylor Show episode 4 drop today. They talked to Ruff and McNeil, and they asked Coach Ruff the importance of walk-ons to a program. So kind of in that same vein, Coach Hud, how important are the grad assistants, those guys that aren't maybe getting the big bucks or the names in the programs all the time, but how important are the Brett Hickmans of the world to that ECU football team under Skip Holtz, you and Coach Fish that were so good?
You can't win without them. And if they're good or exceptional like Brett, it adds a coach on the field. And, I didn't hesitate. I wanted the guys that worked with us to learn, and with Brett and Tim Carter, they were coaching. I mean, it got to the point where I was like, Brett, you're on the individual period, and meeting with the guys and talking to the guys, and it was my responsibility and the coaches on the staff then, as we had done to us, is to teach them how to be better coaches and learn. But you just can't just tell them all the time. You got to let them go out and coach and make mistakes. And Brett was never hesitant to ask questions, and he worked great with the players. And once the players see that I had respect for Brett and that I wanted him deeply involved, and he was a great asset to us, then he's one of the guys, and they instantly get the respect that he deserves. And that he earned, and then it's carried out, and the production just gets that much better on the field. And for me, I mean, Brett, I don't know how many times really. Actually, you probably really graded the film, and we compared notes, and our grades were the same. Brett knew what he was doing. He learned fast. He was around football his whole life. He knew the culture, and he cared. And it was fun. It was fun to have him around.
I think there's an element of this, as I've seen it as I've gone around, is that a lot of people don't treat their GAs and student assistants the way I was treated.
Those guys are jackholes.
They are, and Coach Hud will tell you, or I will tell you right now that I try to treat our GAs and our student assistants the same way I was treated, which is it's an apprenticeship, it's an internship, and you're there to learn. And just the respect that he had for me. And certainly it was a 3-year kind of growth process where it went from, okay, you're going to help Tim Carter with data entry or PowerPoint, what you already had a skill set at being a young person. But then as you learn the defense, you're going to give him more. And then by 2008, we changed some things up defensively where Zach Sleep became a little bit more of a rushing end. And Chris Maddox was on the field more as a nickel Sam or whatever. So, Hud would say, okay, I got to go work with Chris today with the Bucks. Brett, the individual drills, just put them through it. And he said something to me when I went to North Greenville for my first full-time job. He said, you know more than you think you know. And, man, you talk about just empowering somebody to have confidence that when you actually go and run the room, I was ready. And I don't know if there's a lot of coaches that are like that. And some of it was certainly, I'd grown up around the sport, but Coach Hud was the first one who basically said, you're good enough to be a college football coach, and you were ready after 3 years. So appreciative of anything that he taught me, whether or not he did it intentionally or, I was a eager beaver or whatever it was, but it was such a great experience. And it obviously wasn't just Hud. It was Rick Smith, and it was Vernon Hargraves and Rock Rogaman. Nobody loved football like Rock Rogaman.
Nope.
In the history of football, nobody's loved football like him. And The other three were married. Rock was, he was single, no kids. So, you almost had like more of a social relationship with him. So the amount of time that you spent with Rock kind of off the field, which was mostly him drinking and me driving
and eating,
whatever the case was. But you kind of learn from all those guys. I mean, like when I became the head coach at West Brunswick, Rick Smith came down to the beach and spent 3 weeks or 3 days with my team and helped me install the defense in the spring. I mean, what a resource.
Yeah.
Those guys, I tell everybody I got a history degree from East Carolina, but I majored in football. And those 5 guys that I got to go to work with every day were the best professors you can have. And I think it behooved me that if you went to East Carolina now, or you went to State, or you went to North Carolina or Tennessee, there's 9,000 people in a staff room.
Yeah.
And there was 6 of us. You had to grow up at 19 years old, as opposed to really all that guy does in the office now is make copies and do coffee. I had to learn how to coach football.
Yes,
man,
fast.
What a time and place to do it. I mean,
well, you call me anytime and I'll get down there. That'll be a blast.
Brett, you bring that up, and I'll ask you, Coach Hud, as a coordinator now. And we were talking about this with South Carolina's women's team. We went to that game at ECU, and Dawn Staley's staff has got more coaches than players.
2 rows deep.
At a certain point, can it be too much, or do you wish you had it that way when you were the D coordinator, say here at East Carolina, that you had more bodies and people?
I would only have enough people to process enough information that I can remember to call it correctly on game day. Now,
is it overkill at some point?
No, there's just so much access to data.
Yeah,
we were trying to do it. Being a baseball guy at heart, Brett can attest to it. We were trying to do analytics as much as we could before we had the software to do it, to where we were looking at different tendencies. And I had got a sheet. I don't know if you still have it, Brett. I got it somewhere. It had like 25 items on there to go through, and it was just different situations that I never really thought of. And I got it from Rick Minner, whose son Jesse Minner's the D coordinator at Michigan, and he uses it to this day. But then it's sprouted off to where they probably have 100 variables or more that they're going through. But it still comes down to what Brett said. The very first thing is, what's the effort going to be, and are they going to run to the ball, and they're going to tackle, and they're going to get the ball back, and then you can throw, algorithms and analytics out the window.
What's it like at Anderson, Brett? How many guys are on your defensive staff?
Honestly, we have more coaching at Anderson than we did at East Carolina.
Wow.
I have to have the same discussion with the young guys that are coming to help out. And this is another Greg Hudson saying, there's a lot of people that want to be coaches, but they don't really want to coach. So I have to weed those guys out real quick.
They just want to wear the Oakleys and the
wristbands. Get some cool gear, I will say.
You get gear. But, yeah, there's a lot of guys that, some guys love coaching. Some guys just love being the coach. He's right.
So you have to weed that out, first of all. But we actually have 2 student assistants, 2 GAs, and 4 full-time guys. So I have more help than even then.
Wow.
Than even Coach Hutt had. And, we're relatively, for the Division II level, we're relatively resource rich, which is unique to me. I've never really worked at a place, including East Carolina, that was comparative.
Brett, did you go to the convention?
Coach, when I had children, the convention kind of became not a thing.
I saw a number that I think I read there were 8,000 coaches at the convention.
Yep.
What was that number, say, in 2007?
I remember, I can remember the first convention I went to, and they were like, there's going to be about 3,000 coaches here, which shows you there's a lot of lawyers, right? There's a lot of coaches. Sort of equates to the same thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of baggage. I've literally gone into the film ring, Brett, he'll go through this. I mean, guys come in for interviews, or you get a guy on your staff that you didn't select, and they can't draw a circle on the board, or draw a formation up, but they can get on the phone and talk all night on, with recruits. And
Right.
at some point, the ball gets put on the tee and they kick it, and then you got to tackle them, right, Brett?
That's exactly right. One of the things, the other thing, the HUD had this, because when I was a student coach, you're peers with those guys. You see them downtown, or you got class with them. You got to learn how to keep your mouth shut. What you hear in the staff room has to stay in the staff room, and that you let too many people in. Stuff that doesn't need to be said to a player gets said to a player. Which is why, really, of all the friends I had on the team at that point, I was certainly friendly with the guys on defense, but the only guys I would have considered close friends were, Jay Sunholt or Joe Sloan, guys that played offense, or specialists, Ben Hartman, those guys I was probably more social friends with, but I didn't need to go to a linebacker and even have a conversation that was, that just nothing that was said on the second floor ward needed to be said on the first floor. It was Coach Hudson's job to talk to those guys if we had an issue, but, player.
We handled them pretty easy. We didn't have a lot of them.
But that was not, you got too many people who don't know how to keep their mouth shut.
Oh, I know.
And I can attest that those nights I talked about hanging out with Zach Slade, I never saw Brett Hickman. So I will say that, Coach.
He just went to a different place.
Oh, okay. Is that what it was? Brett, I know you got to run.
I told him it was mandatory he had to go out. Can
we get one angry HUD story? I love the respect you have between the two, but can we get an angry Coach HUD story?
I'm going to keep it within FCC regulations. I've got two of them I really want to share.
All right.
Two?
The first one is in 2008. Of course, we got off to the great start. We beat Virginia Tech and we beat West Virginia. Now, HUD and Skip and all these guys, they had played for big loopholes, so there's kind of that old adage, when things are going great, you got to really bust them. And then when things are going bad, you got to give them a little bit of sugar, right? So It can't get better in East Carolina than those two wins. And we're playing the Tulane week, and, it's miserable for every player, because you know what you're doing. You're just trying to keep them humble or whatever. And, so we had a tradition, and I think this comes from Lou, Coach HUD. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but pregame speeches are kind of overrated. HUD, and I still do this to this day, Thursday after practice was really the get them emotionally ready to play meeting. Okay, so we would come off the field as a defense, go right to the unit meeting, and if we had won the week before, Kelly, his wife, would send a cake, or Barbara would make brownies or whatever it was for you'd celebrate last week's win. HUD would get them a little bit ready to play, and then you'd watch the highlight video from the previous week. Well, I think we had practiced fine. I think, it's just one of those things where you wanted to keep them humble. We were going to Tulane maybe, which is a hard place to play at that point for different reasons, because there was nobody in the crowd. You got to create your own energy on the road and so on and so on. Well, we're going in there. We're gonna have the cake and whatever. And I'm sitting on the third. HUD, you know where I'm going with this?
I think I do.
So I'm sitting on the third row, and I'm sitting right behind a defensive tackle who, had a world of talent, but maybe not the most mature kid that's ever played football at East Carolina. And I'm sitting right behind the young man, and we start to play the highlight video, and HUD's just had a great meet, and we're trying to get him ready to play, and the young man says something silly like, roll the beautiful bean footage or something like this, and that's the worst thing you could have said in that meeting at that time, and that cake goes about 2 feet over the young man's head, and it goes maybe 6 inches above my head. It goes across the defensive staff room. And I literally, HUD looks like his veins are about to pop out of his head and everything. He looks so angry, and all the kids, blankety blank, you guys get out of here. You ain't ready to play. You're going to get your freaking rear ends beat. They all leave. And HUD just turns around when they all leave, and he gives me the biggest grin. The biggest grin I've ever seen in my life. And then he points at Rock, and Rock gives him like a thumbs up. I'm like, well, guys, if we're going to be in on something,
right.
the guy I know that nearly got pied in the face with the with that deal. So that's one of my favorites. The other one also in
Poor case.
Rogavan. So when you get into the ebb and flow of the season, you know, Hud can tell you, 1995 on a Wednesday afternoon in October, he was probably watching Tuesday practice tape, and then he was watching a third down cutoff. You know, you do the same thing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in a work week, and then your weekends deviate whether or not it's home or away. Well, I think we go in there, we're watching Wednesday practice, and we're probably playing, I think we're about ready to play Marshall. And we kind of hit a roll in 2008. We had gotten really banged up. Like Quentin Cotton had gotten hurt at Tulane, whatever. I think we had lost 3 out of 4. Something's going on. And it's Tuesday. He kind of taps me on the knee. He's like, watch, I'll get Rogie today. I'm going to get Rogie. And I got a terrible poker face, so I don't need to be hearing this. And I think it's like a routine. Like we're in a team period, and they throw a little bubble screen. And on our worst day, our D-line was unbelievable. Okay, you know, you start your scheme back to front, but you build your culture front to back. And boy, we
were freaky.
Linville Jones was kind of pulled up on somebody in a tag tempo drill. And Hud's like, you know what? We're not running some. We're not hungry on the D line. You know, we're not doing very well. A couple plays later, they might run toss sweep or outside zone or something, and the C.J. Wilson gets reached. Gosh, Rogie, I mean, we're not reading our keys, man. I mean, we're not doing what we're coached to do. And Rock Rogeman's greatest strength was how personal he took how his team performed or how his unit performed. And
yeah, I was just pouring it on real slow.
And I'm just smiling because I can see Rock's ears are getting red, and he's hitting the table. I'm gonna get it fixed. I'm gonna get it fixed. Making like you won't have to worry about that today. And I think we break for lunch or something. And Hud looks at me. He said, "That D-line's about to have the worst in practice in the history of football."
And Rick Smith is kicking me under the table, and Vernon's got his head down, just shaking it because they know what's going to happen.
I can't stop from smiling because I know what he's doing, but Rock has no clue. I mean, it's just, and I think, and then after the game, they had the Bradshaw kid who ended up playing in the NFL.
Ahmad Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrific back, and I think we held him to like 40 yards.
28.
19.
Not that I remember. Yeah.
28 carries on 19 yards.
Yeah. Rock came in the office the next day, and he can't keep his eyes open. He can't. He's exhausted. I bet he ran the distance from here to Wilson. But he said, he goes, man, first what would he do, Brett? They would throw a screen in practice, and he would take off from the sideline.
Oh my God!
And he would chase them to the other side of the field. The players and blowing his whistle, yelling, "Get to the ball!" And I'm sitting there laughing. And Rick Smith says, "You're gonna give him a heart attack."
Wow!
Play unbelievable that.
Oh, they played like amazing the rest of the year.
The Sunday night after they're watching the game, and the linebacker room is right next to the D-line room, and Rock's just giving it. I shouldn't have to do that every week. I shouldn't have to get you to play.
I did feel guilty at that point when it carried over to Sunday and it started Wednesday. But that was a good one, man. That was awesome. A good one.
It encompassed Greg Hudson's fire, but also kind of his ability to push people's buttons to where, you know, and that was the most important thing that I learned as a guy who spent 14 of 17 years in a coordinator or a head coach role, is that the X's and O's really aren't that important. You got to learn how to push people's buttons, whether or not it's players, whether or not it's assistant coaches. And, you know, I would do anything in the world for Hud right now because of those things, that those lessons I learned in those 3 years. You cannot put any type of price tag in having a guy in those very foundational, formative years in coaching. You can't put a price on that in a future, and it's something was incredibly lucky. Hud, I love you, man.
Love you too, man, and I'd help you any way I can. Always.
I know you will.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Brett, we'll let you run. I think this is a great sign of a coaching staff, too, Brett. You are coaching. You mentioned Joe Sloan, offensive coordinator at LSU, C.J. Wilson, head coach right down the road in North Pitt. A lot of and that's just to name a few off the top of my head. A lot of coaches from this team and these assistants, Coach.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Brett, thank you, man.
Good luck, Brett.
Thank you, Clip.
Hug those kids.
Take your comments off the air, Clip. What do we think of our new Clip?
Oh, yeah, I meant to bring that up. While we got Hud and especially Coach Hick here, while Washington fan, Dan Quinn, Coach Hud. What do you think? Can he win in Washington?
Well, they should beat Dallas.
Okay, well, hey, that's a start. We'll take that.
First thing I thought, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Brett, we can talk about it on social media, but my first thought was it wasn't a wow hire, but I like Dan Quinn just fine. I wanted Ben Johnson, basically. I got my hopes up.
Tell me a wow hire. I don't even know. They say names. I'm like, I don't know who that is.
True.
Ask us all in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you again.
You might.
All right, Brett. See you, buddy.
Brett.
All right. Thank you, man.
That was fun.
Yeah,
he's good.
We're gonna have to set up more story time with Hud. I'm gonna get some players from this 2018. Man, you had. I bet Linville Joseph still hates you for that day. He had to do all that extra work.
You know what it was? It
awesome.
Wasn't any extra work. It was just the level that they were doing it.
Well, you know what? His stamina's great because he's still playing
He's
today.
still playing.
Yeah.
We got him in shape for life.
That's awesome.
But Rogie, really, I really need to go back and find that tape. I hope it's still downloaded and find that practice and see because there was like 50 plays of him running a full sprint and he's blowing the whistle. The offense is going, what's going on? And he's just blowing it to blow it and screaming.
He took it personal,
Get to
didn't
the
he?
ball. Oh, yeah. And I was just dripping it to him, man.
That's awesome.
I was like, boy, I just think our guys have given up a little bit. And he was like, oh, I'll kill him.
And as a fat guy, I got to ask, what kind of cake did you destroy, Coach?
Oh, it was a big,
Dang.
huge sheet cake. We had cookies, and the Crabtree brothers would bring the big buckets of ice cream.
So basically,
Great
you were
Thursday.
waiting for the first thing you could freak out on to do that, I guess.
That was premeditated.
Yeah. That's
Guilty
awesome.
sharks.
Cerebral assassin, Greg Hudson. More to go. Pirate Radio Live, back with you after this. We're back on the air. Can you finish this story? You're talking about Luke Kuechly?
Oh, no, I can't.
Darn it.
I can't drop the F-bomb.
Can you kid-friendly it up?
Well, he made a tackle out of bounds when we were playing him at Boston College when I was at Florida State. And he played at St. X and was our rival school at Moeller in Cincinnati. And I had recruited him to Minnesota. And he makes a tackle out of bounds, like I said, after probably his 37th tackle of the game. And we're whacking him. And I reached down to pick him up, and I hit him right in the back, and I said, this ain't the F and GCL today, buddy.
Local reference. How did he laugh? Or
He turned around and looked at me with big eyes, like, what the hell? And then I saw him after the game. He goes, I thought it was you. I saw you in the media guide. I was reading it in the locker room.
That's pretty cool. He turned out to be pretty good. Sean brought up that he was a Cincinnati guy to Coach Hud. So there you go. Who was the other Cincinnati guy we were talking about during the break? I don't remember.
Olsen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Coach Hud was talking about the hey, why don't you get involved in that deal? Why don't you become
if they can give me Brady's contract, I'll do any
You're in?
announcement.
All right, we'll let them know.
Anywhere, anytime.
Our friends at Fox know. Have you ever, you were involved in coaching. Have you done any TV or games or anything?
No.
Just didn't care to?
I do actually pay attention to the play-by-play guys and the color guys. And I am still baffled to this day on the plays that they describe them as.
Meaning?
Like they call things certain things.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not really that. And this is what he was doing there.
Well, do me a favor and don't ever listen to me talk about football. I'd appreciate it.
Well, I'll probably be here in the fall. And don't you guys have a show afterwards? I'm going to just watch that. And I'm going to critique you guys. I'm going to go online and be one of those wackos on a message board.
I got a better idea. Why don't you sit your tail right there?
No way.
Come on, Coach.
No
Come
way.
on.
Dude, that would be awesome.
No way.
Take calls.
No. Maybe one guest appearance.
All right. It would be fun you being a wacko as well on the online. Commenting. That would be fun too.
Wacko.
Jason Nichols was with us all last season, along with Marcus Crandall as well. But J. Nick just got a job at Princeton. He's going to be the running backs coach there. So excited for him. And I've never followed Ivy League football, but I will now because got a buddy up there coaching the running back. So good luck to him.
Great.
Yeah, little Princeton football. Pretty unique
You
coach.
got a winter coat?
He said, "Yeah, he's gonna need one." He said they play a regular season and they're done. They play for their conference title and that's it.
Yeah. And they had, I don't even know what the rule is now for them in spring practice. I don't think they wear any pads, and it's just like OTAs probably with the NFL.
On that note, he enjoys that it's more, you get away from the NIL and the portal and stuff a little bit. Saw I'm sure you saw this, the BC coach.
Adios.
Yeah, the head coach.
I'm at it, and trust me, there's a whole herd.
Floodgates coming with that?
If the opportunity is to get away from the portal,
man,
you will get run over in the parking lot if you're in their way.
So we're going to see more of that moving forward.
Well, I mean, there's only so many spots.
True.
You know, where are you going to go?
And
the guys in the NFL, they don't get fired. They get transferred.
So I wonder, but like the Kirby Smarts, like those guys, if you're in a good spot right now, you
retire. You wait for the rules to get changed, and you come back.
Wow. I'm interested to see what it looks like these next 5 to 10 years.
I mean, I can't blame Saban.
Yeah.
You don't see any videos of Nick unless it's him with a Coke bottle in front of him giving an interview.
He talks to that Affleck, Doug.
Now,
sometimes.
I've seen more clips online of him body surfing and golfing the other day. Mm-hmm. And he is not looking at printouts of who's going to the portal, what the 2037 class has in it that we have to get on now.
We got to get our last break in, Shirley. Let's get it. We'll come back and wrap things up with Greg Hudson here on a fun Thursday edition of Pirate Radio Live.
I think my daughter said they got like 40, 50 guys coming in for the last visit.
Wow. Your daughter is at Texas A&M.
Director of Recruiting Operations.
There you go. Back with you after this.